I did swipe it. Let's swipe it again. Hello, everybody. Yep.
Maybe perhaps when you've got that turned on, it don't tell you nothing.
And you got what turned on? Oh, there you go. There's something.
Yeah.
So,
There's
possibly.
someone, there's people.
There's people.
There's people.
And there's the bits.
There's the bits. There's the little
Excellent.
moving bits.
So it's working.
It is. I feel so far away though.
Hello, people. You
Hello.
feel so far
I
away.
feel far away. It seems darker this week than it was last week.
It's all those extra lights you've brought in.
It's very dark. It's very dark. It's nice. Hello.
Hello,
everyone.
hello, everybody. Oh, look.
Yeah, it's nice. Lots of people tuning in.
Yeah, oh, we lost somebody already.
Oh, it's disconcerting that you see the numbers going up and then it comes down and you say, oh, no, come back, come
somebody
back.
else has, oh, no, that's the wrong place. I don't want to listen to them too.
Why do I look even shorter sitting down?
Oh, there you go. Can read that.
Hello, everyone. We're going to have a sensible night.
Yeah, fat chance.
I feel really short tonight. I feel like I've been hit on the head or something. Little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a scary lighting in here tonight.
It is the scary lighting in here tonight. Look, we frightened another person off. Look, it went from 8 to 7 then. And, yeah. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see so many of you joining us. And don't think if you missed last week's, it doesn't matter because you can catch up on it. Even though this is like part 2, you can still watch part 1. And you can catch up on them because they stay up on the page, on the Shamanic Centre page, so you can still recap, or you can recap on all of the ones that we've done.
Yes, all available online at any time.
Can't get rid of us. We hang around.
Anytime you like. If you can't get in contact with us, you can always watch a video.
Oh yes.
You can't wake us up.
No.
Excellent.
So. We wait. It's only just turned 7:30, so we'll just wait in case there's anyone that's still joining us.
No, people are leaving now. Look, they can't wait
Come back,
any
come
longer.
back. Was it something we said?
Excellent. Well, that's it. They probably thought, I can watch it any time. I'll watch it later.
Yeah, I'll go and have my dinner
Excellent.
first. Go and have my bath. Go and have my shower.
That's
Whatever.
it. You
Yeah.
can put us on
Put my
pause.
PJs on. I've got my onesies on under it. No, I haven't.
Have you?
Yeah, I could have come down in my onesies.
You could. You could have done that and not told anybody.
I could have done. Yeah, I forget sometimes that we can be heard.
Yeah.
All over the world.
Yeah, it's worldwide, this.
So the whole world now is know that Linny wears onesies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, bloody
Not
hell.
only that, they know that it's a pink onesie.
Did I say pink?
No, I did.
I don't do pink.
You do now. The world knows it.
Right, anyway. Hello,
Excellent.
everyone. Good evening.
I think we've passed enough time.
Yes, please come back, those that have left us. Oh, dear. Well, yeah, I hope you've had a good week. Weather's been great, hasn't it? We've had some wild winds.
It was a little bit cold last night.
Torrential rain, frost, and then a really hot day. What day was it? It was really hot. We went to the beach.
Tuesday. Monday or Tuesday, anyway.
Yeah, so it's been really lovely. So we've been really embracing those elements. And
Yeah.
those that joined us last week, we worked through 2 of the elements, which was the north and the east.
The earth and the air.
Absolutely. And then today we're going to work it through the other 3 elements.
Yes.
So that's the south,
Which is fire.
and the west,
Which is water.
and spirit.
And beyond.
Beyond the beyond. Yes. So, yeah. So anyway, so why work with the elements? What is that reason? And what we touched on last time, and we'll bring that in again today, is the importance of that connection. And I always feel really connected when I go out, whether it's the wind or the rain, whether it's the sun, because we wrap up, even as cold as it was this morning, we all wrapped up and we all went for a walk, and it's bracing across the open fields, but there's something that makes you feel quite alive. And then the time you've walked back, you're really warm, and we're taking off hats and we're taking off scarves, aren't we?
Oh, we had it all today as well.
Yep.
So we were sitting in the sun earlier, just for half an hour. It was so warm. It was really, Funny so, and then it rained a bit as we came back off our walk.
It did. You know, and although the elements all bring in different aspects, and there's different things that you can relate to and how you work with them. But the real importance of, you know, why work with the elements, why work with these, is that the more connected you are, the more medicine you get, the more understanding you get, the more
more in tune.
The more in tune,
harmonized.
And that's like that's really, really important. And you know, and I just love everything about it. And I was watching a program before I came out tonight. It was one of these wildlife programs, and it was about all the different animals that go to different parts to when the weather changes. If it's too cold, they have to go somewhere where it's a bit warmer, or if it's warm, they have to go somewhere a bit colder. And I was watching the sea otters, and it was just amazing watching these creatures in the water, the way they were playing, and oh, you know, it was just so lovely diving into the cold waters, and how they use what's around them, and if we use what's around us, that can be really helpful. And the mother, when she went off to feed, she used the kelp to wind round the baby, to hold on to the baby while she went off to search for food. Excellent. So it was using those natural things around us.
You take lessons from that.
Yeah.
And the idea of the animals moving according to the weather. I mean, that's why I live in a van. And if anybody remembers, there used to be a cartoon clown called Charlie Chalk. Right, an animated clown, and if you get to see that, there's Charlie Chalk has a caravan in one episode, and within 5 minutes he explains to you why living in a vehicle is so much better than living in a house. And it's a kids show, but it disappeared. Anyway, we digress, but we'll move round the circle.
Yes.
As Lynn said, we started in earth, we've moved through air, and now we get to fire.
Passion.
The midday sun
reaches its peak.
The solstice, the summer solstice.
Yeah, opposite the winter solstice on the wheel.
The peak of your life. Yeah.
That's right. And the energy of the south, that direction of fire and that passion, it's that outward energy, whereas the north is it's an inward energy. With the south, it's an outward energy. You know, as soon as the weather starts to warm up, people are more friendly. You open the windows, you open the doors. People want to stand and talk. Well, maybe not so much now, but there's a more outward going feeling.
People feel energized by the sun, don't they?
Yeah. And one of our friends, Sven, who's been staying with us for a few months now, he loves to sit and sun gaze. He watches the sun come up, and he watches it all day, and watches it go down. There's something about this sun, and the sun is the fire. The sun is the passion, and for me, it's the place of the inner child, because you know what you want to do in the summer is you want to skip and be free. And I love the freedom that element brings. But it's also the other side. A lot of people don't like that summer element either. They're very uncomfortable in the heat. I know for one was my mum. My mum, it's quite strange really, because for all her life she just wanted the summer. And then her health declined with her breathing. And then she dreaded the summer. She dreaded the heat. But that's how much it affected her. But instead of embracing it more and making a friend of it, she fought it. So it's like anything really, that the more you embrace it, the easier it is to work through it and understand what it raises up in you.
It's really funny because there really is such a total balance between the north and the south, that total darkness, total bright light, and the same as we're going into winter now with the cold. If you don't accept it into your body and you fight it, the cold is so terrible when you're like fighting against the cold, isn't it? But if you relax into it, the same as the heat, when you're coming into the sun, you relax into it, it becomes bearable. And I've spent time up in the mountains where it's been absolutely freezing. And it's only when you get to that sort of acceptance point that it's nice. And the same, I've been in Delhi in heat waves where people have been dying on the streets, but you have to just relax into that. And I think that's the same really probably with all the seasons, with all the elements. We can learn which ones, and we talked a bit about this last week, learn which ones resonate with us, but also the ones that make us less comfortable, because those are the ones that we work with to get the medicine. So you'll know whether you're one of these people that thinks, oh yeah, I love the winter, I can put on 3 extra jumpers and I feel really snuggled, or oh yeah, I love the summer, I can take off all my clothes and run around naked, and we all lie somewhere in between that sort of contrast, if you like.
And it's interesting, sort of, when you start really connecting to these elements and start bringing them into your body and starting to feel those things, because when you get too hot, if you're too hot, that can fire you up, that can make you irritable, it can fire you up, or it can fire you up to pleasure, that you love the heat, you're embracing the heat. The same with the cold, that can make you more ratty, especially if it affects your joints and you're feeling a bit achy. I know that the cold affects me a bit more. I just want heat, but I still embrace that cold. I'll just don my thermals and then go out, because there's something about that connecting with these elements and speaking with them. I mean, we spoke last week how it's all on that medicine wheel. The whole of the day is on the medicine wheel. So where we are at the moment, we're at noon. We're at the noonday sun. That's where the sun reaches its peak.
The fire.
It's the fire.
The south.
Yeah. And, we have fires here on all of those festivals. And people say, oh, it's nicer to do fire in the winter because it's cooler. And we say, because it's so hot in the summer. But I've had summers where it's been cold here at June. We did a fire and ice here once, and it was like freezing for summer solstice.
Yeah.
But it's still, and it's amazing to see fire and ice dancing together.
Did we manifest that by wanting to have fire and ice though? Because we've done fire and ice here a couple of times, and it has been absolutely roasting. And then we've had a contrast where we've had fire and ice, and it's been freezing as well.
But there's something special there when you get that the fire and the ice.
Yeah, I think there's a real balance, and our ancestors saw that in the medicine wheel. That's why they marked equinoxes and things like this. There's such a balance around that medicine wheel of the dark and light, the heat and cold. Well, we're here in the south, and like when you're in the west with the air and the water and the contrasts between them, but the way that the whole circle works together is such medicine. So, like with fire, let's think. We've discussed really how why to connect to all the elements, but think of ways that you can connect to fire. And Lynn's sort of mentioned about Sven and sun gazing. What a fantastic thing! If the sun isn't there, you could use a candle. Candle meditations and focusing on the flame of a candle is fantastic. As some of you might be lucky enough to have real fires or a place you can have a fire. And of course, there's what better way of connecting to fire than to actually have a fire or set yourself on fire. What a connection.
Try this at home.
And if you set yourself on fire accidentally, ask what's that showing you? What's the message?
Yeah. But yeah, there are many ways to connect with that element, the element of fire.
And it's such a transformative energy as well. So we a lot of the time will use fire for different transformations, whether it's for getting rid of stuff and shedding things, focusing your energy into a bit of wood, or even writing down things that you want to shift on with or change in some way. There's amazing ways you can work with fire, burning away stuff and transforming stuff with the energy of the fire. Oh, look, what's going on there?
What's that?
Well, some little fairy has appeared on the phone, look.
Oh, yeah. I love some of these. I love some of
that's
these.
nice.
Yeah.
We can't see anything that's written, but we can see that.
So, and we was telling you that on our medicine wheel, we have the colour white in our south as a representation, because the real heat of fire is white when you really get into that. But there are so many ways that you can connect to. And as Bruce was saying, one of the lovely things to do is a fire ceremony. That's a wonderful way of connecting. Build yourself a fire. But, I see people build fires and I think, really? They have no real regard of what they put on the fire. It's a bit of wood. It can have nails in it. It can have metal in it. Think about the wood that you use if you're going to make a sacred fire. Our fire here is very sacred. We've done so many ceremonies in this fire here, and our fire pit is very much revered. It's looked after. If you ever come here for a sweat lodge and our fire's going, well, when the fire's going at any time, because sometimes we would just have a fire for ceremony.
Sometimes we have Homer ceremony here as well. Lots of different fire ceremonies, fire and ice.
Yeah. But we don't put anything on there without permission. One from the firekeepers, but we wouldn't put anything unclean on there. The only thing that ever goes on our fire would be offerings of some sort. And I think Bruce touched on it last week as well at some point, or was it tonight, about the smell, the fragrance, spirit like that. So we would put certain incense on the fire as well. And honey is another one that Bruce would use in the Homer ceremonies.
Yeah.
And we make offerings. So, but the wood is so important, because every piece of wood that comes to here that's delivered by my guy, and I'm even a bit fussy about who I get my wood from, but everyone here handles, each piece of wood is handled. And I don't know how many pieces of wood are in a double load, but every piece is handled. And given thanks for, because it's come to us, it's given itself, it's sacrificing itself for our fire. So we have that mindfulness, and the mindfulness comes into everything you do, whatever element you're working with, is having that mindfulness of that you are speaking to an energy as well. And that wood that's going to go on your sacred fire, you thank it for coming to you, and you treat it carefully. So we don't break up pallets and old crates, and if we ever have to use newspaper to get a fire going, and when it's been really really wet, sometimes we'll scour it for positive news, because we won't put anything. It's very hard. We might end up with one sheet of newspaper out of a whole paper, of trying to just put on their positiveness. We don't want anything negative going into our fire. But it's quite interesting, because you can also use the fire to write down anything that's negative that you want to get rid of, and ask the spirit of the fire to help you consume that, help you to transmute that, take it away from you. But you do it with, you do it in a ceremony, and you do it in a mindful way, in a respectful way, and always have respect for the fire. You have respect for everything, and it really pays that way. And if you have respect for everything, then you don't have to keep thinking I should be respectful, because you just are. That becomes part of who you are, your makeup. You be mindful and respectful of all that you do. I mean, it's interesting, I have people stay in my house, I have people stay in buildings and that. But now, like Sven's been staying in the caravan. If I needed to go to caravan, I'd knock on the door. Before, I wouldn't just open it up and go in there. So I wouldn't just open up my fire and just go in there without speaking to the spirit of the fire first.
This is something that, like, people that know us knows carries through everything. If we go, I think we talked last week about when we go to sacred sites, we'd ask permission, because it's somebody else's space and place, and the spirits associated to that place. Just the same as if we came to your house, we wouldn't just walk in and expect the right to be there. So
absolutely.
There's a lot about asking permissions in some places, but and accepting if the permission's not granted. So there's a big wide picture to that with showing respect, but when we're working with a fire. I mean, if you're wanting to do a candle meditation, then respect and thank the candle for doing any aspect of the work. Just be thankful for the things coming to enable you to do that. I mean, we mentioned last time in air, if you're just going to go up into the mountain and scream into the wind or something, thank the mountain for holding you, thank the wind for taking your screams. All of this is, the more humble you are and the more you acknowledge and give thanks for those things, the more connected and that you become, the more that those energies work with you as well, because you don't have that thought in your back of your head, oh, I wish I'd done this or I wish I'd done that, because it becomes part of what you're doing.
It's second nature, isn't it?
That's it. It becomes automatic.
Yeah. And all of these things, all of these elements will help you a great deal. They're like they are a friend. So you have that conversation. I mean, I'll talk to the fire if I'm keeping fire for lodge. I'm always talking to the fire. I'm asking the fire for the space I can put the log on, and I'm asking for, are you going to let me in? Are you going to let me in? And then then suddenly the fire apart, and I can put another piece of wood on so that we keep our rocks covered. There's this dance that we do with the elements, the dance that we do with the fire, the water and the earth, and all of them. All of them come together. Especially within a sweat lodge, all the elements come together, and then you really connect with them, and you just know those elements, and they're all part of nature, and nature is the best teachers that we have. But like with everything, have respect. I mean, we go to a regular sacred site near here where we live, and every time we go there, someone's had a fire on top of this sacred site, on top of this long barrow. And there's a big scorched earth there where they've had a fire on top of it. Just be really mindful where you go, where you're going to have your fires. Don't just think you can go and rock up and have a fire anywhere, because you've got to think of the surrounding flora. You've got to think about everything around you.
I mean, it amazes me, actually, who would have the thought of, oh yeah, this is a sacred place, my ancestors are buried here, I'll have a fire on top of their grave, and how they would feel if it was their mother or father that somebody was having a fire on,
And I will touch on this because it is very, very special to us, and one of the biggest celebrations we ever have with fire is the Festival of Fires in Ireland. And we've been really blessed to have gone over there for the last 9 years, 10, no, it would have been 10 this year, wouldn't it?
It would have been the 10th one, in the spring.
And I mean, that fire that they build there is huge. I mean, they spend days and days getting that fire ready, and we've had been part of these beautiful processions of the fire. It's really lovely. But one of the most striking things about it, where this place is, the Hill of Ishna, it's the highest point. So tradition would have had it, and it has still doing it now. They've brought this alive. Is that once that main fire is lit, you'll start suddenly seeing all these little fires being lit in all the surrounding villages,
spreading out
It all spreads out from the one fire. It's so amazing to see. You can pick it up still up on there's an Ishna Facebook page, but there's also, you can also look on the Google websites or whatever.
I mean, it's just such an amazing thing at Ishna, because it's the Celtic heart of Ireland, and pre-Christianity they had these fires, and the guy that owns it now, David Clark, he told me when he was a child, people still were saying, you don't go up there, it's the Devil's Hill. And now it's reinstated. So on Beltane, there's fires burning from that hill all over Ireland. So let's not get too carried away.
And we take some of the ash, with permission from the fire as well. But we take some of the ash, and it's been mixed within our fires as well, because that ash holds that sacredness, especially when it's been done with the right intention. Yeah,
I use a lot of that in my workshops as well. I mean, I have pots of ash that I've collected from sacred fires all around the world. ultimately, because ash holds the memory, you know, it's got this amazing energy just to hold this pure vibration, and that's in that transformative power. It becomes like a condensed energy. So
we released the energy of a heron being taxidermist, was in a glass box, and I won't tell you the whole story. It's a long story, but anyway, this heron came in this glass box, and it was banging on this box to get out. And we created a sacred fire, and we put it on ceremony, and we were sat with that for hours and hours. It was one of the longest things that have ever taken to burn.
It's like the lessons in that were absolutely awesome, actually, because we were like, this heron obviously wanted to pass over, its spirit wanted to move on, but it was, when a taxidermist is doing his work, his whole focus is on making something last forever, to be eternal, as long as it possibly can. And that kind of, because of his intention and the focus that they do, it becomes like a spell in itself. It's a manifestation. You know, he spent however many days or even possibly weeks working on this bird, constantly focusing that this is going to last forever, it's never going to change, it's going to look like this in a glass box forever, you know. So it was amazing to see how long it took to unwind that manifestation that he'd made. And so the lessons in there are amazing, because when we become really focused and have a passion, and this is really relative to fire as well, and we do something with full passion and full intent, it really manifests whatever we're doing. Now, inadvertently, sometimes, because we're manifesting all the time, that can be good, bad, or indifferent. You know, it's not always a good thing if we're unaware of what we're doing. So again, having that clear intention and the mindfulness to work with these elements is
and that's all of the elements.
That's all of the
elements. It really
elements.
is. And you know, and fire, look at your own traits within fire. I mean, I did last week recommend the book from Andy, and I put it up on the stream, and it's on the page, the book there, where, you know, all the elements relate to parts of your body, whereas I'm sure any of you might know what part of the body the fire is. The liver. So that's a representation of the liver, is a fire element. And look at it, you know, are you too fiery? Are you not fiery enough?
Are you hot-headed?
Yeah, you know. So look at these traits. You know, are you not passionate? Too passionate? Do you know, all of these things you can find and start working with. And like we said last week, it's the things that you're not comfortable with are the ones that you should be looking at. Well, not should, are the ones that would be beneficial to be looking at.
That's where the medicine is.
You don't have
you don't have to do anything. Yeah.
You know, but it's all about choice. But you know, it's those things that, you know, it's the things that are not comfortable. Put it this way: whether it's the heat, whether it's the cold, whether it's the fire, whether it's the east, whether it's the south, whatever it is, what you're not comfortable with is where you need to look at.
It's where the medicine lies, in working with those things. So that's cool.
We'll move on from fire, you know, and we did say last week, and not many people have, you know, give us a little bit more feedback and tell us if you do any experiments or anything that if you're going to have a fire and you do a sacred fire, or you go out and do something with the air and the earth, let us know. I'd love to know how you get on. I know I would, and I'm sure Bruce would as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll move from fire around the wheel now to the west, which is the element of water. And I love water.
Me too.
It's you know, it reminds me a lot of us as people, as individuals, because when it rains and you see all these like individual little drops of rain on a window pane, and then they all become one. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, is very much like us. We're all these little tiny individual droplets, and we are just a drop in the ocean, literally a drop in the ocean. But when they're on the window pane, and then you see them all come together, and there is something about the rain and the water, that life's blood. The way I feel of water, it's like the veins of Mother Earth. You know, if you think of all our waterways, our rivers and our streams, they're all the veins of the mother, and they're carried through. We're very lucky as well. We live very close to a natural spring, and quite often we'll use that water in our ceremonies. You know, there's the springs, the Chalice Well,
Ishna
Spring. Well. You know, there's these springs, and go out. And we did a well dressing as well last year. That as well. We did this well dressing. It was just so lovely. A group of us went out. We took flowers. We did chants, and we just honoured the well. It was so beautiful. It was like, it was all sad. The energy was all quite sad when we went there. It was like in the middle. It was cold, and it wasn't very. The weather was it had been wet and damp, and it just looked dismal. But at the time we went and we put all this intention into this well and into this ceremony, it was alive. It was vibrant. It was just so special. And we're connecting to all of these elements. We're connecting to every day. You get out of bed, you go into the loo, you go and wash your hands. You're with the water. You're breathing. Then you know.
You try living without blood.
You know, yeah, absolutely. You go out in the garden. You're standing on the earth. You know, and the elements are with you constantly. But we just don't think about them. You don't think about it. You know, the next time when you turn the tap on, think about the water.
I love water. Water goes from the highest high in our atmosphere to the lowest low in the planet. It's such a connector. It flows from the top right the way to the lowest low, but on its journey going through brooks and streams and rivers and seas, and then that cycle is exactly the same for us as humans, because we take the glass of water out of the river, if you like. We drink that, it goes through us, it returns to the river and carries on its journey. So we are part of that eternal flow of water. And the water has never changed. The water on this planet is the water that was there at the beginning of this planet. Nothing's escaped from our little biosphere, spaceships flying through space. So that water really holds the memories of the very beginning. You know, and it's all still on this journey, going up and down and flowing from the top to the bottom and being taken on these little loops by human beings as we drink it and then put it back into the system. So, you know, the water that we're drinking is the same water our earliest ancestors were drinking. It's the same water the dinosaurs were drinking. You know, there's only one water. And I know we have sacred sites with sacred wells and everything, but don't be fooled. Those places are just where people put more love in those intense places, or where the water's springing forth and they're honoured for that. But there's just one water, and it goes everywhere, all over the planet, through you, through me, through Lynn, you know, back into the planet, back up to the highest high. So what a fantastic cycle. And it really reminds me of, we talked last week about the cycles through the elements and through the day and through life. Well, water's already, it's doing like its own cycle as well, from high to low, and continually working. And water is such a powerful element, you know. It's like water always wins. If you drip water onto a rock, eventually the rock will wear away. You know, you drip it onto the strongest metals, eventually they start to rot and rust. Water has this great energy, and when we start to attach that and think about water and homeopathy, where the tiniest bit of something in the biggest amount of water is the most powerful. So why not, when you have a glass of water, remember you're drinking liquid love, and think of it like that and let that love pass through you.
There's been experiments done as well, hasn't there, with water, and you know, you see the patterns in the water.
Yeah, the Japanese.
The negative and the positive, which is, you know, really, really interesting. and the healing. We've put water in we've got some Tibetan bowls here, and we put the water in the bowl, and you sound it, and you see all the water creating this pattern. It's quite amazing, the energy.
Well, these are great ways of connecting with water as well.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way. And you know, for me, water, it's so cleansing. You know, from going out barefoot on the summer lawn, you know, and you get that early morning dew, and you just connect to that dew on the grass, to the heavy rain when it comes down in the winter, and you're all indoors and you're cozy and you're listening to the rain lashing on the roof of that. But I like going out in that as well. And then you get the smell of the rain when it's been dry for so long, and then suddenly the rain hits the concrete, and there's this beautiful smell. And we were out walking the track the other day, and I said to Bruce, "Oh, I can smell rain," because you can. I think when you become so connected to these elements, you sense them, you smell them, it's like somebody coming in with your favourite perfume on, that you know that they always wear that perfume. So when Spirit of the Water is there, I can smell that water, like when it snows as well, and that turns to water. And there's that quite, when we have lodge, sometimes we have a bath of water outside. So we come out really hot from lodge and then get into a bowl of a bath of cold water. It sounds really, really lovely. We might do it the next lodge, because we haven't had one out for a while.
It's not a winter activity really, but we'll put it there as long as you promise you're going in.
Well, one of my favourites is coming out of lodge and laying in the snow, and then the snow melts, you know. And then we have our sweat. You know, the reason we lodge, we sweat because we're cleansing. You know, and water's cleansing. You wash in water to cleanse, so the rain can cleanse you.
The rain cleanses the earth, doesn't it? And it cleanses the air. I mean, anybody that lives anywhere with any form of pollution will know that after it's rained, the air is the clearest and the cleanest, because it takes all the stuff and washes it away.
And again, after lodge, we came out, and when we used to lodge up in the woods, we had the sweat in the lodge. We'd come out and we'd just shake the tree leaves, and we'd have a shower from and it's like you feel every little drop of water hitting your body. So that you know, so that's another way of connecting with that element, you know. And the salmon swims in the west of our medicine wheel. So you know, the salmon's the wisdom keeper, who swims in that west on our wheel. And I love floating. I love going. So let's look at some of the other ways. How many ways we can actually connect to water?
Oh, okay.
So many. Oh, you were going to say something else?
Well, it's okay. We'll think about the ways we can connect to water. I think really, before we think about how we connect, let's think of it again on that wheel of the day. So it's the dusk time, the evening, and our life. It's as we're sort of coming into old age, so it's a fruition. It's also to do with the autumn of the year. So when you start to see those things beside each other, you start to see that it's more of a release and a letting go. You know, the trees release their leaves in the autumn. It's colourful. It's a fruition. It's a big event. You know, on the wheel of the year. So it's in the west for us as well. So
and that really feels right, because the blood as well.
Life, yeah, the life's blood starts to flow away. When we're working with water a lot, because it's in the west, a lot of the stuff that we do is about releasing and about letting go, and you know, because it's moving also towards the north, to the dark, to that introverted time. And as Lynn said, we came through fire, and that's where we're all out, and everything's out, but we have to let go of that and then start to work inside again as we come through. Also, when you look at the way that flow of the wheel comes and the properties of all those things, so we started with the earth and the trees and like the solid ground. So when you've got those solids and you've got air, you put air and fuel together, that's what creates fire. And when you've got fire and water, suddenly that's the magic, isn't it? That's the transformer. The fire transforms. That's how we cook. That's how we live, you know, by using all these elements. Even when you've just had dinner, I expect. And if you look back at it, you could have possibly and probably see every single element in the meal that you ate. So it's going on all the time. It's just bringing our awareness to it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So connecting with water.
Connecting with water, so many ways. Swimming. I mean, I just so love to float. That's me. And when I float, I was at one of the spa I used to go to a few years back, and I was floating, and suddenly I sort of opened my eyes, and this guy was just about to dive in. He thought I was dead because I didn't move.
I spend so much time floating when I'm in India. There's a high salt content at the beach that I stay at, so it's almost like being in one of the isolation tanks. If anybody's ever been into one of those,
flotation. If you can't,
flotation. Amazing meditation.
Yeah, they really are. Especially if you've got any really, you know. I mean, we used to do this course over on a place on the Isle of Man, and they had a flotation tank, and my back was really, really bad this particular weekend. And Bruce, because it was coming up for my birthday, he treated me for this. It was the first flotation I'd ever experienced.
Oh, amazing.
Oh my gosh, it was just so amazing. The only thing, you know, I turned out all the lights because I don't want any lights.
It's sensory deprivation as well. So.
But it's such an amazing feeling. So if you get the opportunity to go into a flotation tank, I highly recommend that. It's
amazing medicine. On one of those, I was running with the ancestors, and it was. When I came out of the flotation, I suddenly realised, because you're in this, it's like almost zero gravity. I suddenly realised what the comfortable position for a human body was as I came out of it, which isn't anything like what I would understand. You'd think, because it kind of felt a bit hunched up, but give it a go and you'll discover that. That's such a great way. I mean, I have a real affinity with water, because usually at this time of year I go to India, and it was only after I've been doing it for years that I suddenly realised that everywhere I go is either beside a holy river or living on beach, which is the most sacred sort of part of the Vedic philosophy. So it was really strange, because as somebody that knows that they're a fire sign, it was really funny to realise that, like, naturally I'd gravitated to all these really strong water energies, and obviously, like, there's that great balance in there, because if you're too much involved with any of the elements, you're going to find that can be as detrimental to your well-being as not being connected to them at all.
Again, it's bringing everything into balance. We have to be balanced, you know. And this is why when you start becoming so connected to these elements yourself, you'll start to really notice as soon as you go out of balance. You don't need to go to somebody else or a healer or somebody else to tell you. You'll feel it in your own body. You'll understand it. And you'll become so, you know, so connected to it that you'll have this greater understanding. All of the elements can teach you so much. And I mean, as for myself, I couldn't swim. I wasn't able to swim. I've always wanted to be able to swim, but I could never swim. And then I had a major health turnaround, and something happened, and I just thought, right, that's it. I just need to get into the water, and it was my saving grace. I have to say, it was my saving grace. And this particular thing that's changed my life, changed it in ways that I couldn't even imagine, because I went from not being able to swim, living almost in the water. I mean, that for the first year or so, I just spent so much time in the water. And I just absolutely love the water. And then I ended up going to the Caribbean. It's one of my favourite places to go. And the waters there are warm, and they're turquoise, and they are so healing. And I was able to actually go and do the snorkeling with the fish. And all the colours of the fish and everything. So, you know, a negative thing in my life becomes such a positive thing because it brought in such lessons. And the spirit of the water was the biggest healing and the biggest teacher for me within this change of my, you know, of my life. So I, you know, as I say, I love all of the elements. I can see my strengths in the elements. I can see my weaknesses in the elements. And when you start connecting to them, then you too will feel the same. But you would also see it in other people. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, you should sit there and judge anybody, but you'll start to have an understanding. You'll see something, you'll think, oh, you know, they're a bit emotional, they're a bit watery. You know, because again, emotion, you know, organs is the heart that goes in with the West, which is quite, you know, it's that element of water. It's the heart, it's the emotions.
Yeah, putting on the waterworks.
The tears, you know. So you'll be able to actually start to see, and if you're a practitioner of any sort, it's really quite handy to part of toolkit, if you like, that you have with this understanding of these, because you'll see them within yourself, which will help you to see them in other people.
Right.
So
getting back to connecting, that was swimming.
Yes. Absolutely, and it was a big one. It was a real big one because that
swimming, floating.
Yeah. What else can you do?
You can drink
Bubbles
water.
Again. Bubbles again.
Remember when you're passing water to love it on the way out, the same as you love it on the way in.
Yeah. And bubbles. We had the bubbles for air, but you can have bubbles for water as well because they're liquid.
Yeah.
Lay in a stream, lay in water, paddle in water.
I'll tell you one thing as well. If you like floating in the water, you let your ears go below the water and start, if any of you know mantra, or like even if it's just making a sound, and see how the water is the conductor of that energy. And many years ago, I was at an Earth Spirit Festival, which was in the early 90s at some point, and there was a group of people, the Dragon Group, and they were travelling around and sharing their ideas on casting magic and everything. And a guy there, he spent a whole hour giving a workshop about the joys of casting spells while you're sitting in a river, and how potent that increases. And that goes back to that homeopathy idea of you're putting that energy into water, it flows to the world. This is why these sacred sites with these sacred waters are so important. People put that focus in. It's when we use our focus, or we use words and honour, we're creating spells. You know, this is why spelling is from words. You know, we're casting spells by using words. So those intentions are putting it out. And don't be fooled, all those places where people are focusing love on the water or anything like that, that's getting carried everywhere, as I said, to the highest, to the lowest. So, and you can do that with a glass of water when you're drinking it, and loving it again on the way out. It's all going back into those cycles within cycles. Standing in rivers. Laying in rivers.
Going to the sea, standing watching the sea, whether it's calm or whether it's, I mean, I really like the sea when it's really rough and you're getting all the foam coming off of the sea as well. That's and you, even if you feel the spray, don't you? You know, you can feel the spray of the sea on your face. It's and then you lick your lips and you get that salty taste as well when you're down at the seaside and or just by the coast. And the sound of water, waterfalls, you know,
fountains, just listening to the trickling of water. And if you don't have access to these things, like I tell you, just the sound of a tap. If you put a tap on a little bit and just listen to that trickle of water and home in on that, you can do that anywhere. Everybody's got a sink or some form of water. When you're having a shower, really connect to that water falling on you, and you just bring your awareness into the fact of those bigger cycles and how that water is going everywhere and carrying everything everywhere through the cycles. Of great way of connecting.
And water's such a conductor as well. So, you know, like when Bruce was saying about being in the sea or in water and chanting, you know, I was telling you that when I started to go into the water more, I had one of these underwater ear music things, but I had certain frequencies. I'm not listening to pop music or other music. All I was literally listening to was specific frequencies. So when I was floating, I would have this constant frequency going off. Amazing. Actually, I have to dish it out because I haven't used it for a while, but I would like to do that. Every night here, nearly every night, I'll always have a hot tub. And it's not, you know, when we went out to get our hot tub, it was, oh, you're going to have all these cocktail parties. I don't do cocktails, I don't do parties. You know, it's therapeutic for me. I love getting in the heat and I love getting in the water. And then there's something about sitting in this hot water when the cold water, when it's raining, is hitting your face. And again, I'm connecting to the water. And it's an amazing way of working. You know, if you have your altar indoors, have a little chalice on your altar with some water in it. You can bring that indoors as well. That's a lovely thing to do. Another way to connect. We drink water. When we have ceremonies, we have mead as well. That's liquid. Comes some liquid love as well. So there's so many ways you can connect with it, and you can see those. You know, think of different ways. There must be ways that we haven't even thought of tonight.
Water pistols. In India, they have a great festival at Holi, where Holi's all about spreading love, and a lot of people will know it as the colour festival, but the colour is only part of it. The other part of it is the water. They spread the water in that love. So although it's considered the colour festival, it's as much about spreading water. And they use what we would see as different water pistols, but it's not really. In the West, when it's water pistols and things like that, it's all about fighting. But in that culture, it's all about spreading love. So it's kind of a different intention with the spreading of it. But when you're in a hot country and you get covered in water, it doesn't seem so bad. If you did that to somebody here in the winter, they're probably not going to be that happy.
Or you're in the middle of making drums and you get a water spray over your glasses.
Yeah, what do you expect if you're making drums?
But another way, and this is one of my favourites as well, is that I love being on boats. I mean, I love to be on a boat. I love laying in bed of a night and feeling that movement, that wave of the water. I love that. And then going down in a submarine, I did that as well. That was, if you ever get the opportunity to go down in a submarine in the Caribbean or anywhere, I know they do them in, I think, the Mediterranean as well. Amazing. It's just that there's a whole world down below us. In the ocean, there's a whole other world down there. And that's where, you know, if I was younger now, I'd really like to take up diving. It must be an incredible thing to do, to go diving and be in the water and swimming around with all those beautiful creatures down there. So there's so many ways.
I just love the feel of it, and you can connect to water without even getting wet. I mean, I'll go back to the beach I stay at in India. The way the waves work, because the beach is shaped like an Om, it's like the waves have a strange effect, and when you're sleeping so close to the actual sea's edge, you can feel the whole area, your floor, your bed, you're lying in bed, and you feel the vibration of every wave as it comes in. You could just, it's like this hum, just flowing through you, you know. So there's so many ways that we can connect, as I say, without even getting wet, you know. And remember, you got your blood flowing through your veins, so you're always connected anyway.
And you know, and we have to touch on the fact that all of these elements can be so destructive as well. You know,
absolutely.
Fire can be so destructive. Water can be destructive. You know, air can be. And you get those strong winds. I mean, crikey, we've had some really strong winds here over the last few days. You know, everything. You get the earthquakes and
volcanoes, all these different.
So you know, the fire, all of the elements are as healing and as teaching, and you know, even in the negative side, the positive comes out.
Yeah.
So
There's a contrast through them all.
And it's always, everything has to come back down to balance. So it is important to connect to these elements.
Could you pass me the medicine wheel thing?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Have we finished with water?
I think we're nearly. I think we've carried most of them. I think we've spoken enough about water and the fire.
So I think we're going to go back into spirit, but I just really wanted to, when we started this workshop, we showed you this image, that this is the image that we use for the medicine wheel. Now, if you see, we've talked about there being 5 elements, and if you look at this, there's 5 circles. If you're to take each element as being one circle, so you've got the north and the earth, and the south with the fire, and water and air, according to which way you're looking at it, because I know everything's reversed. But this is spirit, is this circle. And when you look, spirit is encompassed in all of these. But also, we were talking about, you know, that fire and water and how they interact, and fire and air, and all the different elements and the cross elements. And then you start to see why there's so many aspects to this picture that we use. Because there's sections like in the centre that contains all the elements and is at the centre of spirit. There's aspects where there's just 2 other elements, but spirit is encompassed in all of them. And that's why we work with spirit in all those elements when we're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So spirit.
Oh.
So let's get into the spirit then. Not meaning to offend anybody here. We would never say to somebody, "Oh, you've got a great big Native American with you," or "You've got a Buddhist monk with you," because you'll find that we have. I can speak for myself. I'm sure I'm speaking for Bruce here as well, because we had this discussion. You get to a point on your journey where you don't need these descriptions, because to me, spirit is just an orb of light. That's what it is. It's an orb of light. Magnificent orb of light. And with modern technology now, these orbs have been caught quite a lot on camera, especially around sound, especially around drumming. When you're first starting out, you thought, a lot of people want this confirmation that spirit is there. And the way we work, and the way I believe, is that it's important to tell people how they can connect to spirit themselves. You don't need that third person to connect you to spirit. You connect to spirit yourself.
Yeah, religions get started if people stand in between you and spirit. Because then you don't talk to spirit yourself, you talk to the priest, pope, druid, chief, rabbi, whatever that religion's chosen representative is. So instead of talking to spirit directly, you let somebody stand in the middle. They become the middleman, the medium. It's called medium for a reason. And yes, it's standing in between the spirit world and the physical world. We're all mediums. We just have to notice that we are. You've got a direct line to spirit. We've all got a direct line to spirit. We come from spirit. If we're to believe that this thing that we're living in is this great manifestation of a creation, and we all come from spirit, we all return to spirit. So you're never unconnected. You just got to notice, and bring your awareness round to it, and that the spirit of all the elements is all around you all the time. There's the people that were here before, they've never gone anywhere. They've just changed. That what was their body has become the soil. You know, that soil has provided the food for you to eat. You are your ancestors. You are not only your bloodline ancestors, you are all the ancestors. Spirit is the big connector between everything.
And spirit is in everything. Spirit, everything has that spirit within inside it. There is everything, a tree, a plant, a tomato,
a brick.
Everything has a spirit, you know. Everything's got that spirit within it. But, you know, to actually connect to spirit is to show, you know, to help people realise that they can have these connections themselves. It's just amazing. You just got to have that belief in yourself. A lot of the time it's always looking to other people to give you that confirmation. But you'll get to a point where well, I mean, I know that I've got to the point in my life a long time ago, well, actually I don't need this confirmation anymore. I know spirit there. I know that existence. I feel it, I sense it, I smell it. Like I feel the fire, like I smell the fire, like I smell the water, like I feel the water, like I breathe the air, like I smell the air. The earth, I feel the earth, I smell the earth, I live the earth. That's my physical. And then in all of that spiritual, it becomes so interlinked. Everything is so interlinked. There isn't anything separating.
Yeah, the more you get your awareness and focus onto the physical elements, the more spiritual those elements become anyway, and the more connected you become to spirit. So we at the very start of the first workshop, we were talking about why do we connect, and we've mentioned that it was the medicine. Well, this is the medicine for your spirit, and your spiritual growth will grow through using the physical elements, because the more you become connected to the physical elements, the higher spiritually you can actually climb. You know, the more based in our physical reality that you become aware and consciousness of, and happy and settled and balanced in that, the more spiritually enriching your life will become through using those elements.
And becoming that blending, we take away that separation. It's the separation that makes us fall apart. It's because once we understand that we are all part of everything, I am you, you are me, we are one, there is no separation of anything. Everything has value, everything has worth, everything has a spirit. When you feel totally, fully connected to all that is, then you are all that is. You're not separate. And I think that's why there's so much unbalance now in these times, because there is this disconnection. You know, I mean, I heard the other, you know, sometimes children in school don't even know potatoes grow in the earth. You know, that's another disconnection and a separation, because it's separated it. And if you can think, well, you know, that potato's got as much feeling as I've got feeling. I think people are going, what? Potato and you got feeling? Yes. If you look at it, that everything has a spirit within it. And everything is as important, and nothing is separate. And I think that's where we cause all our problems, is this separateness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So spirit is all encompassing. It's all around us.
It connects everything. We come from spirit. We return to spirit. And when I think also with spirit is one of those words. Some people, you say spirit and they immediately think of a ghost spirit or an individual spirit, an individual energy. And then you've got this other great spirit that everything comes from and returns to. So some people have a different view. When you say the word spirit, some people it's a very individual, a drop of spirit, if you like. Or they'll see great spirit, this massive spirit that everything is one and everything's connected. Okay, now I really like the Vedic teachings with that, because they talk of Paratman, which is the great soul, the great spirit. And then you've got the Jiva, which is just like the cup that holds the spirit, if you like. So personally, for me, I see this as a human being. Like, I have this vessel, this physical vessel, and that carries a spiritual vessel, which is the soul. Now that soul is like a cup and it's full with spirit. That's my drop of spirit, if you like. But that spirit is going to go back to the main spirit. Once this physical body dies and my soul moves on, then the spirit returns to the spirit. Okay? So I just really felt I wanted to explain that. Yeah. And that does come from Vedic teachings, but I've tried to make it more easily understandable, because I think when people start to relate to that idea of they're carrying their own cup of spirit, then you start to see why when people will see a spirit entity, like whether it's an orb or anything else, that very much is an individual part. That is one of the drops in the ocean, you know, and we see those drops in the ocean. And you've got to remember, if spirit's trying to communicate with us, it's always going to try and do it in a way that we understand, because it's not wanting to make problems for us, it's wanting us to understand its messages or whatever. So be wary if people start talking about like the evil spirit and everything.
Keep that for Hollywood, eh?
You know, like, it makes good films,
yeah.
But in reality, yeah, I think spirit is love. You know.
Yeah. We come from love. We are love. We go back with love. You know, it's how we are in between. Is how we have a choice. You know, we're all healers. We can all be killers. It's how, and we all know right from wrong. We all have a choice whether we want to do the right things or whether we want to do the wrong things. Everything's about a choice. When we're humans, we have choice. But I you know, the vehicle and the spirit and the soul, you know, wherever you look. I mean, when you go over to Ireland as well, if you ever go to Newgrange over there, their vessel, if you like, that held the physical bodies, and you'll see these cups, like dishes, everywhere in ancient art, you know, the petroglyphs and hieroglyphs. You'll always see this vessel, which is carrying the spirit. You know.
Yeah, this isn't new knowledge.
No, it's certainly not new knowledge. You know, they knew more than we know. You know, because we have to have all this proof all the time, and it's been very interesting being married to a scientist for many years, who now believes in spirit. Seen too much, felt too much, heard too much to not think of any other way other than it is. So there's many ways that you can connect with spirit, and please don't go away and think that you're going to have ghosts in the house and the least little bang is going to be a spooky thing, because, you know, most of that, it just all comes from Hollywood.
Yeah.
And fear and control. Fear and control, but that'll take us into another workshop that we're going to be doing soon. So I don't want to touch on that at the moment, but ultimately it's just a little quick recap here, unless we've got anything else we want to say about spirit.
I think really, like with most of them, with all the elements we've talked about how to connect. And when you connect with spirit, you can use all of those elements and connect through those. And connect to spirit through the use of the elements. You know, we're very much about honouring spirit and acknowledging spirit, whether it be the spirits of the land, the spirits of our bloodline. You know, we're very much here about honouring and acknowledging that spirit. You'll find that in certain paths, like akin with the pagan pathways, people will be summoning spirit. Well, that doesn't really ring right with us, because spirit's there all the time. It's like we're in this big blob of spirit. You know, as human beings, can we be summoning the spirit? That spirit's there already. It's possibly spirits there laughing. Oh, look, they think they're summoning us. I was here already, you know. They're shutting us back out now, closing us down and closing us out, but they're still there, you know. It's like, I summon you and now I've finished. Go, be gone, go back where you belong. You know, if your ego makes that work for you, then I think you can start to go back and work with all the elements again.
I think you have to remember as well, spirit has got free will. You know, if it wants to be there, it will be there. If it doesn't want to be there, it won't be there either.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't think it can't not be there.
No,
I think it can just
everywhere.
not show itself.
Not show itself. That's the best way, is not show itself. They don't always want to show themselves.
No, that's true.
They don't always want to show themselves. You know, there's many ways that you can connect with spirit, but be assured that you can. You don't need somebody else to do that for you. You can connect to spirit.
No, that's fine.
And just know that, you know, if you've got loved ones that have passed, just know that they are there, and you know they're there. It's just you want somebody else to confirm it for you, because you doubt yourself. You doubt what you've seen. You doubt what you smell. Because sometimes grief can take us down this avenue of we are so immersed in the grief that we don't actually sense and see and feel what the subtle energies that they're bringing back to show us that they are still around us.
Yeah.
But the one thing that you can feel is love. When you open yourself up, you will feel the love of all of the elements and spirit.
Cool.
So, now last week we said to you that there's a specific chant that we got. It was in Newgrange. It wasn't in Newgrange. It was in Grange.
Grange. Yeah.
We was doing ceremony. And I love this. I love this. It was so simple when they gave me this. It's so simple because you can take it anywhere. It fits anywhere you go that you want to do any sort of ceremony. So
and it has been used all over the place. I use it in ceremonies in India. I've used it in ceremony in Israel and in Morocco, and we've used it in England, Ireland. Not Scotland, have we?
No, not Scotland.
Wales, possibly. I don't know.
Anybody listening to this, you are very welcome. It was, you know, things are gifted from spirit to us freely, and now we're gifting this to you. So feel free to use this in your ceremonies. Anyone puts a copyright to it, then I will moan about that. Because the only one that's got a legal copyright to it is spirit, because they gave it to us. So we do it 3 times round, and it's really good as well to use this to connect and face. We're not going to face the direction that we're going to be. We're not going to move around the circle or anything like that. But you know, really feel it as you do it. Okay, so. Quite simple.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. North, east, south and west. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Above, below, all around. Okay, so we do it 3 times, and it's true, we honour the spirits of the 4 directions, above, below and all around, and all the elements associated with those directions.
Okay.
Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. North, east, south and west. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Above, below, all round. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. North, east, south and west. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Above, below, all round. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. North, east, south and west. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Spirits of this place, we honour you. Above, below, all round. Cool. Not only do we honour spirit and the spirits of this place and the spirits of our ancestors and of our bloodlines, but we honour you for taking this journey and for joining us, and hopefully we've given you some things that you can work with, some things that will help in your medicine, and if nothing else, just some things for you to think about. Because the more you get your awareness thinking about these things, the medicine, it's automatic. Automatic.
You know, another way of connecting is getting your own little honouring chant for each of those elements in spirit.
Yeah, even if your chant's just sitting there going, air, 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 rain, 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 rain,
fire, fire,
fire, fire, fire, water, 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 water. You know, it can be as simple or as complicated as you want to make it, which I think draws us into the fact that we're going to do we got another workshop next Friday and the Friday after. We decided to keep it going on these next couple of Fridays because everybody's stuck and on hold and all that. I know the second Friday you're not strictly on hold anymore, but let's see. So we thought we would do next Friday.
Time to reconnect there. Next week we're doing power animals.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to be looking into power animals. You may have seen the event. And then the following week, the illusion.
Dispelling the
illusion. A shamanic experience. Illusion. So do join us for those.
Yeah, do join us for that. Do your elemental homework.
I think, it's the week after the last Friday one. I think that I'm doing a meditation again. I've got a meditation evening too.
Yes, the Tuesday after.
There's a few things coming up as well. And the band doing Touch the Earth doing a live
That'll
stream.
be the Saturday after that.
Yeah, so we've got
Friday the 4th.
So we've got a busy few weeks coming up. Yeah. And if there's anything else that you know, any messages you want to ask us, then do send us messages or comment on the stream. I did put the book up. Somebody asked me for. I put that up information. So you know, we do get back to you, and go and enjoy these elements and learn from them. They are teachers. They are there to help you. They are your friends. We're your friends. We love everybody, and we look forward to coming and sharing with you again, from our hearts to your hearts, from our home to your home.
And if you're really interested in working with the elements and you want to do a deep journey with the elements every year, not this year, this year excluded, but every year other than this one, we take a group of people to Dartmoor for a week-long retreat where the journey is through the elements.
And we have two spaces.
Yeah, we've got a couple of spaces left. We focus specifically on the elements, but because it's over a week and each element takes us into the next, it can be a very deep journey. Okay, and I think also we got a couple of 3 spaces left on pathways as well. If you're interested, if you're thinking that one day we may not be locked down.
But if you are interested in our pathways course, please write in. We'd like some background information, the reason why you would like to do our pathways course and what you feel you could get from it. And as I say, if you are interested in Dartmoor or pathways, then please don't. You know, I think once everything starts to move after Christmas into the new year, things are going to book up very quickly. So don't delay. And we look forward to seeing you same time next Friday. In between, have a lovely week. Stay well, stay safe, and keep smiling.
Mum Shiva. Oh, and just while I'm turning it off, look at this amazing T-shirt. I didn't really notice that that's what I was wearing until just before the workshop.
Hold on a minute, look, I've got the same sort of colours on, look.
Well, yeah, but yours hasn't got any writing on it at all. They've been looking at it all day.
Oh.
They might be able to read that. You'll have to take a still of it and try. Look.
Won't it be backwards?
Well, they'll have to look at it in a mirror then. Bye.